This feels like a fresh start. Lotus has survived. It's made it through the doldrums. And now there is new money, new branding, a whole new factory with state-of-the-art machinery promising tighter tolerances and greater efficiency. This is everything that we've been promised in the past, but this time it's actually happening. And now there is a new car to justify all this. The Evija was the vanguard. This is the main event. This is the new Emira. Stunning, isn't it? Go on, how much? £100,000? £150,000? Nope. This will start from less than £60,000. Now, we'll come back to the design in a bit, because first I want to find out more about what's under the sleek skin. Lotus says that it's for the drivers. Well, this is the man that should know. Gavin Kershaw, one of the most skilled drivers you're likely to meet, but also officially Lotus's Director, Attributes and Product Integrity.
Thank you so much for talking us around this. We're standing at the back of the car because A, we don't want to kind of get in front of the lovely front of it, but where to start? As we're in the back, let's start with drivetrain, shall we?
Yeah,
and
sure.
the various options. So the engine options, we've got the 3.5 litre V6,
yes,
and then a straight 4, turbocharged straight 4,
yes,
from AMG.
So yeah, as you said, perfect partnership for us. The V6 that everyone loves, with the supercharger and calibration to meet all the new emissions targets and torque delivery. So everyone is a fan of the bigger engines. And then embracing the turbocharged i4s, super powerful, lots of torque, lots of engagement, free revving, everything that a Lotus engine should be. And it just, it opens up every market for us and who prefers what markets, and link those to the gearbox options as well.
So this is the M139 engine that's in the A45
yes.
AMG?
Yes, so the hardware, and then our own exhaust systems, clean air intake, engine calibration, and the way that we want to make it sound, feel and respond to throttle inputs. Yeah. So that's what we do so well, working with the engine suppliers to make it a Lotus.
In terms of gearboxes, we've got 3 options, two with the
one,
V6,
yep,
and then one with the...
Yep. So the 6-speed manual with LSD and no LSD, auto, and then the DCT with the i4, obviously calibrated to the way we want the gear changes to be and the speed of shift, things like this. But it's a perfect balance for that style of engine versus what the style of engine when driving a V6. So, they're both really, really impressive.
In terms of power and torque, I know you're not giving specifics. I mean, we know what that AMG engine can produce in sort of other applications over time, potential, but what's being said at the moment?
The range for the Emira will be 360 to 400 horsepower, so it's not too different, but it's the way it's delivered, and also CO2 ratings and things like this, and again, certain countries wanting certain demands from their engines. So yeah, it's a nice power range and torque range, delivering under 4.5 seconds to 60, so high performance still. And it's with the weight of the car, just 1,400 kilos, that power and torque range is exactly what we're about, the whole package.
Yeah. So underneath this, we've got the same extruded bonded aluminium technology that we're sort of used to, which I've always said is, there's no reason to change it. It's still fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that it's a misconception that just because we use the same technology, the bonding technology and extrusions, it's a new car to us. It's a new platform. It's a new, it's a proven technology. So a steel-bodied monocoque isn't a copy of the next one. So just because we use the same materials, it lends itself perfectly to what we want to do: bending, stiffness, torsion, and the weight, and also for us, weight distribution and how we manage it. Couple that with the front subframe, which is obviously produced in-house along with the chassis, and the rear subframe out of metal, that we're actually producing our own chassis and subframes just in Norwich, which are transported here to Lotus.
In terms of suspension, because I know there are a couple of options there as well, we've got fundamentally double wishbones all round?
Double wishbones all round, coil-over damper, straight through anti-roll bar front and rear, typical Lotus, from the Elisas, Exijas, Evoras, so well proven. You go and look around the pit lane of any race circuit and that's what you want to see underneath your bodywork. We've changed were some of the characteristics we want, the way that the steering feels, ride, compliance, things like this. So we've been able to revisit lots of things that we've been working on, simulation, and prove that out in the actual vehicle as well.
Wheel sizes, obviously, I've noticed that you previously on sort of Evora it was 1920, and now we've got 2020 in terms of front rear diameters.
Yeah, we went to a 2020. We've always had normally an inch stagger, but it was something that the design group were always challenged about, that they like big wheels, obviously, and keeping the proportions of the car versus the height. So we gave in to Russell, obviously. But the big thing for us is that we've worked with Goodyear and Michelin to develop our own tyre, so we could claw back some of the ride characteristics that you lose when you go to that lower profile, wet grip performance, dry grip performance. So they're completely bespoke for us. Lots of iterations of tyre testing, wet, dry, cold weather, and having a tool like that to play with to start with really allows you to make a 19-inch tyre behave like a 20 and a 20 to like a 19. So yeah, it's fantastic.
As standard, it's the touring setup. Is that right?
Yeah. So we wanted to introduce two defined chassis setups. It's not unusual for Lotus. Touring is still hugely capable in any road condition, even on the circuit, things like this. But your bias is towards, let's say, commute stroke B road enjoyment, the way it rides over, and a little bit of tyre noise, that linked with like an all season, the Goodyear tyre.
Yeah.
And then the sport, where you can move the spring rates, damper rates up, and body control to maximise the Cup 2. So really you can tell the customers' daily usage what they're going to do. So we try and make it so the car looks the same, the wheels are the same, all of this, but it's actually those guys knowing I use my car once a month on a track day, or I really enjoy fast driving, or actually I'm going to use it around the centre of London or a city and transport people in it. So we've got the perfect balance for that. And then you can link in some packs as well, a driver pack with additional modes and things like this.
You mentioned weight, 1,400 kilos as a lightest possible.
Yep, sniff over 1,400, yeah, so
weight.
1,405, yeah.
So it's not it's not the lightest anymore. That's obviously heavier than it was in Evora. It's not. It's a more normal.
It's a bigger car.
Suppose. Absolutely. What are the challenges for you then in terms of making it still drive like a Lotus, still have that Lotus feel to it?
To be honest, the weight, it's moved such a small amount that increasing, the footprint of the Emira is bigger than the Lotus has been before. So that naturally gives you stability. It gives you the impression of a lower centre of gravity anyway, and you don't have to be so stiff to take the roll angle in. That we're very intelligent about, if we have to increase mass through componentry like headlight technology, is keeping that mass as centrally as possible. So not putting it really at the extremes, keeping it low. And evolution of homologation technology and safety requirements, you're always playing that battle. So yeah, we've increased a little bit, but it hasn't, the increase in footprint that increased the weight as well, just put the car into a new level of cornering ability and security feel.
Yeah. And just how much fun is it to drive?
It's brilliant, and I love it because, having worked at Lotus all the time, there's only set times in Lotus careers where you get to do a whole new car. Yeah. And that's not just the design aspect, but it's going to Sweden, driving in the snow, driving in wet handling, working with tyre engineers, and just chewing the fat nearly about how good can we make it, how much can we press it here, and what if we done this, and it's that excitement and just seeing the benefits of that gain every time, and not being shackled by the hard points that you had before or anything like that. So it's always the pleasure of starting with fresh sheet and having the track at Hethel, this time round, just being able to absolutely destroy times that you'd been around the car, obviously, and also things like driving the Evija now as well.
Yeah.
You want that certain characters. Russell's brought some of the design language into the car, but you want the way that steering feels in this to feel in the Evija and things like that. So it's keeping that whole DNA in the business.
Steering, we haven't mentioned the steering yet, because
steering's hydraulic.
Which is a massive thing, isn't it?
It's a huge statement, and it's not backwards. We've done it for all the right reasons. That we want the car to be engaging, intuitive, confidence-inspiring, and also all the nuances that make a Lotus and the way it controls the road and feels. Your control with the tyre is that steering wheel and the way the effort's built up in the hydraulics. And our competitors and other people are getting close, but I think the litmus test is when people drive a Lotus, they realise what they're missing. And we're not prepared to miss that yet, and obviously technologies are getting better and better and better, and we'll embrace it when we need to, but the decision was this has to be all of the core values of Lotus, and steering is one of them.
Gab, thank you very much indeed.
No, it's a pleasure.
Can't wait to drive it. Right, we're going to talk to Russell now about about the way it looks.
Yeah,
So, leaving behind the viewing garden, which sounds like something from the Chelsea Flower Show, and heading inside to the more artificial light of Design Studio 2, we set up again to find out a bit more about the looks of this Lotus from the company's design director, Russell Carr.
Russell, you must be delighted with this. It looks absolutely stunning. I mean, it's clearly son of Evija, isn't it? But yeah, talk me around the design.
Yeah, we're very pleased with this, obviously, but we're always a little bit reserved in design. There's always something else we'd like to do. But yeah, obviously, Evija is very much the inspiration for this car. We wanted to create a baby supercar. And using Evija, which was always our halo product, our statement of intent, why wouldn't we use some of the cues when we come to design this car? I think everyone buying an affordable sports car like this wants a little bit of the halo effect of a hypercar. And when we're standing at the rear of the car here, I think you can really see that sort of baby supercar look, really broad across the shoulders. And that's really accentuated by the taper we get in the cabin. And as you know, with Lotus, we always like to try and blend form and function together, so things are there for a reason. And this taper obviously helps reduce drag on the car. And it also allows more air to get to this back surface, the spoiler. And that's really important. Aerodynamics is always a key value for Lotus. And this car creates downforce, a little bit of downforce front and rear, which is really unusual in this class. So,
because there are no active aerodynamics, are it? It's
no active aero. This is a very pure car. Yeah. We aim to get it right first time without any sort of enhancement at all. So, but yeah, really important to get the aerodynamics right on the car.
Yeah. And whilst we're around the back of the car, this is the setup we have for the 4-cylinder engine, what you'll see looking through here, but it'd be slightly different if you've got the V6, is that right?
That's right, yeah. So this is the 4-cylinder. So the engine is largely covered on the 4-cylinder, and it's to do with thermal management. Not that I pretend to understand all that. So some small vents at the front. If you go for the 6-cylinder, the charge cooler's on show, and some of the other key elements of the engine are on show with a very sort of minimal cover around it. So we sort of showcase the engine. So kind of quite a nice last hurrah for a combustion engine, because of course this is our last petrol car that we're going to produce before we go fully EV.
Yeah. Moving further down, we've got LED lights.
LED lights, yeah, and this very strong signature on here, this sort of C-shaped signature, depending which side of the car you're obviously standing on. But when you see the car from the distance, it's something very memorable, and that's what we're always looking when we're designing. We want to create cars obviously beautiful, we want something that's modern, and we want something that's memorable, and also obviously recognisable as a Lotus. But in terms of memorable features, that's certainly one of them. And then as we move down here, you obviously got the classic diffuser at the back, and that's been very much part of Lotus cars since the Elise first appeared 25 years ago. And then another thing connected with combustion engines is two very large exhaust finishers here. And the detailing inside here is a nice designer touch in here. The perforations you see inside there, they've got a sort of triangular plectrum shape, which is like the centre of the Lotus badge. So if you're an avid car cleaner, as I know some people are, and get their cotton buds out, you can view that every time you work on the car.
Everyone's going to notice that now. And then obviously you've got the vents here, you can see the tyres through there, which again sort of evokes the
very much trying to capture the spirit of Evija on the back. But whereas the Evija, these Venturis running through the car, these are for alleviating the pressure in the wheel arch. So that gives some benefit because you get build-up of pressure, which creates lift, which we obviously don't want. We want to create downforce. But also, it's just really cool seeing the tyre on the back of a car. I grew up, looking at pictures of Porsche 917s and things like that. So, yeah, I've got a bit of an obsession with seeing tyres on the back of a car. And I think a few other people do as well.
Yeah. Let's have a move around to the side of the car, shall we?
Yeah.
So, love seeing the Evija there. It's really cool seeing the two of them together, isn't it? Let's deal with wheels first, perhaps, as we've got the profile here. These are the forged items.
Yeah, so these are the forged wheels, and these are in the bi-colour, so the diamond cut front face. So we also have a cast wheel as well. And what, from a design point of view, is a little bit different for us for Lotus. We have got 20-inch wheel front and 20-inch wheel rear. Typically, we normally have staggered wheel sizes. But for us, what's really good visually with that, it gives us a nice big wheel and tyre diameter at the front, which helps lower the car and gives the car a little bit more presence from the front, a little bit more bite on the road. And fortunately, it also works really well from a dynamics point of view, which is obviously really important for Lotus.
Yes, Gavin has been talking about that. So taking us down the side of the car, we've also got intakes there, and there's another one sort of hidden slightly in the sill just down there as well.
That's right. So we talk about, you know, this car having baby supercar looks, and certainly baby supercar, or a supercar, is really about a blend of sculpture and technical detail. And so we've got technical detail that's all functional in here. Sculpture on the side is something quite extraordinary. You know, there's a lot of shape for this kind of class of car. And this particular shape and this feature line that leads down here helps guide the air into this side intake that gives general engine bay cooling, and also feeds the induction of the car. And of course, all this sculpture as well, what we do in design is playing with light and shadow, and it helps give the car a lightness, keeps it looking athletic. You know, we want to create cars that look shrink wrapped and very, you know, essential, you know, no wasted space at all on there, because we want the cars to look agile basically. So that's how we play with the light and shadow. And as you said, yeah, down the bottom we've got another intake which feeds to the brakes at the back of the car.
Yeah. This car has got the black pack on it, so we've got the black roof here. Obviously you can get it with a body coloured roof. Do you have a preference? Do you think
I think at the moment I prefer the black pack, but obviously as a designer I'm always changing my mind. So it looks really good. It looks really good in one colour as well. You can argue one colour unifies the form as well, so that's positive. But this certainly plays a really strong connection with Evija when you have the black roof as well. So you read it more like a canopy almost on the car.
Right, let's see. I think the profile might be my favourite angle of the car, actually. I think it's really...
That's good. We did a lot of work on there trying to tune the screen angle, the header, etc. And of course, the haunches on the car, which you've heard me go on about before, we work hard on those. Really important visually to give the car power and visual strength, but also when you're inside the car, you actually see those as well. And it could be just the theatre of seeing the light dance across the surfaces, but it's also, you can help position the car by seeing the corners of the vehicle as well. So it's really important to us.
Absolutely. And then we'll move round to the front here as well. Probably the most sort of direct link, I'd say, with Evija here, simply because of this here, which has also got the grills under there, which is so distinctive, isn't it, as a face? Yeah,
very much. That's the signature from Evija, and that's something we wanted to keep. But again, it's a very sort of functional detail on the car, which it makes it, you know, very appropriate for Lotus. And what it is we're taking air in through the centre here. We've got the main radiator in the centre, and then we evacuate it out through these surfaces. Okay. So on the current cars, the Elise, the Exige, the Evora, we have these two big extraction vents on the top, whereas this, we've got this boomerang form, which, as you say, mimics Evija. And fortunately, this is also not only just a more elegant solution visually, but it's also a more elegant, efficient solution as well, because it actually works better than the current one, which is a happy coincidence, or it's through much research as well. Absolutely. We've also got the new badge on the front with a new identity. I should say that, yes. So importantly, the badge is larger than we've ever done before, because we're proud of our company. And also it's the new corporate identity. So the final production badge will be a little bit more jewellery-like, have more finer detailing than one we're showing on there, but the actual design of the logo is the same. And then on the front, the other important things really as well are obviously connection with Evija, are the style of the lights. So unlike Evija, these are full LED. So the Evija was a mixture of laser and LED, but these ones are full LED. and that's available on all models, so you don't pay extra for that. You get that on all the variants of this particular car. And where the connection with Evija is very strong is these two blades, almost like wings off an aircraft, that give this signature that you'll see coming down the road, the two lights. So as I've said before, it's like a warrior putting on their paint. It's something very distinctive.
Obviously from around the front of the car, looking through the windscreen, we can see the interior. And you were saying it's like Evija. It's an interior that invites you to look at it from outside as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important to me. You want to be drawn into it. Your eyes want to be drawn around the car. You want different aspects to see on the exterior of the car, but you also want to be drawn into the interior. The interior has been really important program for Lotus, because I think everyone knows us for doing really exciting, exteriors, but sometimes maybe our interiors are a little bit too pure, too focused. And on this car, because the intention is to be very dramatic looking, supercar looks, but to be everyday usable. Obviously the interior plays a really key part of that. So we thought about storage, we thought about where you're going to put your cups inside the car, which seems amazing. So it's a car you can use every day. You can take it to work, you can take it maybe to the airport, you're on a business trip, or obviously take it on a touring holiday or whatever as well.
And so we've got two screens in there.
Two screens, so we've got a 10.25 in the centre and then 12.3 in front of the driver. And as you expect with any car now, you can get all your infotainment through there. So you've got your navigation, you can listen to your music, your telephone, etc. And obviously normal driving functions as well, but also some of the stuff which is about how the car's performing. So really just what you'd expect elsewhere. But we've done some really interesting graphics on there, very clear, very sort of precise, what you'd expect from a Lotus, a car that's for the driver, something which is very pure and easy to read.
And in terms of, obviously we've got different gearbox options, which we've talked about out there. So I love the floating sort of transmission tunnel, but then that changes quite dramatically when you've got the manual gear shift.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got a floating transmission tunnel, as you said, which is really part of the theme. We had a little bit of inspiration from the S1 Esprit, where you have this rising line that comes off the door card and then into the IP, and a high center console. And as you say, on this one it's floating. We have the DCT option, and you have this very distinctive open loop gear selector. But if you select a manual box, you can actually see the mechanism below the upper surface of the center console, and it's then encased in a sort of mesh cage. So it's on show. But again, it's really celebrating the fact this is a combustion engine car and one of the last ones there, but it's got a little bit of theatre to it.
And you've got the sort of the cool flip up cage over the start button as well,
yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah, it's a requirement because it's a start-stop button, and we have to protect it so that you don't accidentally initiate it when you don't want it. So we put this flip cover on there, and it's made out of metal. So like the paddles, if you have a DCT option, and like the gear shift, if you have a manual option, it's a nice material, something that feels very reassuring to use, cold to touch, and all those things that we love to talk about in design.
2 seat options, is that right? So you've got a 4-way adjustable and a 12-way adjustable seat.
That's correct. So the car's always a 2-seater. Behind the seats, we've got space for a couple of cabin bags, which complements the additional luggage bay at the back of the car in the boot.
208 litres and 151 litres?
You know more than I do.
There we go.
All I know is we spent a lot of time making sure in the back of the car we could fit a cabin bag.
Yeah.
Or you can fit golf clubs. I can't remember what size set we can fit in the back of it, as I'm not a golfist. And then, as you rightly said, the seats, we have 2 options. So you can have, I think, a 4-way and a 12-way electric adjust. So again, something people probably wouldn't expect in a Lotus. But, you know, this car's about having 2 personalities, really. You know, if you have the ability and the inclination, you can take it on the track, and this is going to really deliver on track. But if you just like a beautiful car, and hopefully people think this is a beautiful car, you can just enjoy driving it normally, and you know it can suit your everyday needs, and it doesn't demand anything of you if you want to drive it in that manner. You know, it's going to be a very easy car to drive, good visibility, and as I say, you know, lots of storage inside the car for putting
good sound system as well,
and a great sound system as well. So that's something really exciting. We're working with Kef, which some people might know have an extremely good name for domestic audio. And this is the first time that they've done a program with an automotive company. So we're very lucky for our upgrade system. We've got KEF as a partner. So they have this UniQ speaker, which I believe, and I'm not an expert on this, I think it combines the tweeter and the mid-range. So apologies if I got that wrong into one, but it really gives, you know, a special sound. So, and because we've worked really hard on this car in terms of NVH, you will actually really be able to hear the sound system when you want to as well.
Russell, thank you very much indeed.
No, thank you.
This colour, by the way, is Seneca Blue, one of 6 initial colours that will be available. And the name Emira, in case you're curious, means commander or leader. Other things, well, in terms of dimensions, the length, height and wheelbase are almost identical to an Evora, but the Emira is about 150mm wider. What to conclude then? Well, in my opinion, they have nailed the looks. It has supercar presence for a sports car price. And dynamically, well, it's a Lotus, so you just know that it will handle well. There is even the option of a manual gearbox to stop purists like me from grumbling.
But perhaps the most exciting thing, perhaps the thing that gives me most confidence, is actually this interior, because it looks like it's from a major manufacturer. Even on this prototype, there's a quality to it that I haven't seen in a recent Lotus, in any Lotus, I don't think, before. And it makes me think that this really could be the new dawn that we've all been hoping for. The factory that we saw at the beginning being brought up to production readiness, the money going into that, the money going into the dealer network, the money being put behind finance packages, it all gives me confidence in what is Lotus's future. It's very, very exciting.
Mm-hmm.